Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast.
Episode 121. Adam Charles with Kieren Lefebvre.
What's up?
What's up?
Today we are talking about strength and conditioning from home.
Yeah, so this is a follow-on from episode 118? 117 was it? Was it that? I thought it was 118. My bad.
Yep.
Yeah, where we did an episode talking about our top 5 lifts for Jiu Jitsu. And off the back of that, we're going to do, well, what do we need to do those lifts? Pretty much mentioned it in the episode a little bit, but, you know, how can we build a little bit of a home gym if you're someone who is so inclined? Maybe you've got a garage, a bit of space, an unused room, whatever.
Apartment.
Yeah.
Your lounge room.
Yeah, wherever you want to. Yes, Kieren has a bench press in his lounge room.
I do.
All right.
References off camera.
Yeah.
Next to the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That was set up in October.
Actually, I'm just looking. It's got like one, what do you call those things?
Bubble?
A bubble. I think they're called a bauble. I don't
Oh,
know.
whatever.
It's got 1, 2, 3 Christmas decorations on it
It's got lights on it.
and lights.
Plug the lights to plug the light.
It's a very
in.
sad Christmas tree.
Yeah, well, don't tell that to my fiance. But before we get into the meat of this episode, we got to give a shout out to Chrissy, one of our listeners and now a question submitter from the previous episode 120. That was the first question submitted. She was talking about mentality around competing. She followed up with an email and showed us some photos of her. She did compete, obviously, before the episode aired, so we didn't help her at all. We didn't help her at all. But still, she ended up placing. She came second at her first comp at, I think first comp ever, but comp at Blue Belt. And yeah, so big shout out to Chrissy.
Yeah,
well
thanks for the email, Chris. It was really nice. And,
yeah, it was awesome.
You know, she wrote, guess what my favorite guard is? And then all the photos of her doing single leg X.
Yeah.
So I figure it's Spider Guard she must like.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. No, that was some cool photos. Thanks for the email, Chrissy. Really nice words. And I actually received, between the last episode we recorded and today, actually, I don't know if you saw them all, but we got like heaps of messages on Instagram of just people saying like, oh,
we're famous.
yeah, look at us go. You know, heaps, like 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
sorry, I'm derailing.
But just got a few messages from people saying like, oh man, you know, listen to the podcast, love the podcast, keep up the good work. And yeah, it's nice to receive those messages. And, you know, so thank you to the people who take the time to send us a message. And that's nice. And this off the back of that, we've said this before, when we run into people at local competitions, you know, it's always nice when people come up and say hello. And yeah, so like hearing from you.
Makes us feel important.
Yeah. It's all, hey man, someone said hello to me. It's all been worth it. Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay, so yeah, today's episode, it's going to be, I did some research for this episode leading in, and I tried to piggyback, as Adam mentioned, off episode 117, where we spoke about our top 5 strength lifts for BJJ. So if you haven't listened to that, it's not that you'll need to understand what we're talking about, but it'll give some context surrounding this episode. So make sure you go and listen to that one as well. But yeah, so we're basically, I've calculated how much it would cost someone in Australia and the United States to put together a little home gym based around ticking off my top 5 recommendations for lifts. Now, on the back of those top 5 recommendations, there was a lot of conversation and discussion generated in the wider community. It's really interesting when I found this phenomenon, and this isn't like, this is a little bit controversial and it's going to make me sound a little bit like a dick. This is by no means like a call out to anyone in particular, but I've noticed whenever you put out any like recommendations for fitness, it's kind of like nutrition in a way that everyone sort of piles on like experts, you know what I mean? Like, for example, what I'm talking about specifically is I put out an Instagram reel like recommending 3 lifts. And funnily enough, the 3 of the lifts were, only one of them was in my top 5 list. It was just 3 lifts like to give people, you know, ideas, very basic information. They were literally what we call in the powerlifting world, it was 3 of the top 4. Top 4 being deadlifts, squats, overhead press, and bench press. And it was the 3 that are most relevant. Obviously, eliminating bench press. So I recommended people do squats, front squat variation, overhead press, barbell variation, and deadlifts, conventional deadlifts. And people just jumped in the comments and like, yeah, but you didn't mention this. You didn't mention that. It's like, well, would you want me to fucking publish an encyclopedia on every fucking lift you can do? Yeah. Like, what do you want from me? And then the point I was trying to make at the start of this rant is whenever you talk about strength and conditioning, if someone, and this is the part that's going to make me sound like a dick, if someone has lift before, like maybe they have a 12 months under their belt of lifting experience in their mind because they've made some muscle gains, they're an expert. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I get it. Like you don't have to have
it's like the white belt teaching the white belt. Because that dude hit that one submission, the pro now.
Yeah. I'm not saying you need to have like a certificate for in fitness or fucking diploma and this and that. Like, I'm not one of those guys. Like, I'm not saying that a guy with a degree knows more than a guy that doesn't have any qualifications because, you know, it's case-by-case basis. But I just find it's like conditioning or fitness in general, very specifically, because of the nature of social media, anyone can be an expert now and everyone thinks they are. And it's really, it can be frustrating. Like I got into a conversation with a guy in the comments around like these top 3 and he was like, yeah, you shouldn't do overhead press because it can be dangerous. Like, or something like that. And I'm like, every lift can be dangerous if you perform it incorrectly. Yeah. Like, or he said, yeah, you shouldn't recommend that because not everyone can do it. Well, not everyone can do squats, mate. What about people in wheelchairs? Are they like, that's a ridiculous example. That's a bit of a scarecrow fallacy in my own argument. So I'd admit to that. But like, there are pros and cons and risks with every lift that you do. So when it comes to the top 5, and this is linking it back to our content here, like when it comes to the top 5 that we recommended, and I'm going to go through those again to give your memory a bit of a jog. Like if there's an exercise I haven't mentioned that you're like, yeah, but I like that better. It doesn't invalidate the entire list and it doesn't invalidate your exercise and it doesn't invalidate ours.
How many times have we mentioned when we've done anything to do with essentially exercise or working out or strength and conditioning, we've said so many times that, you know, the best workout is the one that you do.
100%.
Because I've said multiple times, I actually quite hate exercising and working out. I like doing sports like Jiu Jitsu or rock climbing or surfing or whatever it is. I'll do a sport that happens to be exercise, right? I actually don't particularly, I actually don't particularly like working out.
For the sake of working
out. For the sake of working out. So, yeah, like if you don't like one of these and it's kind of like, well, do the one you like or don't do any at all, then do the fucking one you like.
Do the one you like.
I mean,
100%.
You know, it's, you know, I'm not, of course, people know I'm not a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach or anything
people
like
know.
that. The people know.
People know, Adam. You don't need to say that.
But, you know, bench press is a bad exercise just from, I'm saying that from just multiple trainers I've spoken to, that it's just, it can be very bad for your shoulders. It's, you know, it doesn't really translate directly to jiu-jitsu and these sort of things. So something like a dumbbell press is better because you've got stability and, you know, you're not in a fix, it's safer for your shoulders because you're not in this fixed position, blah, 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 blah. However, if you don't like doing dumbbell press, you're like, well, I fucking like, I mean, if you like doing bench press, I mean,
do bench press.
As long as, like you said, any lift can be dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be doing deadlifts with a 5 kilo kettlebell and you could get a back spasm or like, I mean,
it's slip a disc, anything.
Yeah. So as long as you're doing it safely, I mean, if you enjoy bench press,
do it.
It's not hurting you. Like, just like do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
100%.
better than not doing anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was thinking of the exact same example of bench press. Do I put bench press specifically in my strength and conditioning programs for BJJ? No, I do not. Do I put that in there as an option if you want to sub it out? Yeah, I do. And the reason behind that is exactly what you said. If you enjoy it, fucking do it. If you like lifting like a powerlifter, if you like focusing on the big 4 or the big 3, if you will, the squat, deadlift, and bench press, and you want to isolate those exercises in perpetuity and do them forever, go for it. Like, obviously there's going to be pros and cons, but you're exactly right. The best workout is the one that you do.
Yeah. So
fuck, that was a rant.
Kieren needed to shut down some hate comments.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily hate comments. It was more so like from people that, I mean, not that I recommend really like stalking people. Like someone gives you a bit of criticism, you shouldn't go stalk their profile and be like, oh, you don't know shit. But I did. And and I mean, like, I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about. It's more like, okay, are you a S&C coach? Like, and again, it's not like that they need to be to have an opinion on something or to know something. It's like, it's the internet thing, right? Where you say, oh, I really like oranges. And then someone will be like, what the fuck do you mean? What's wrong with apples? You mean you hate apples? Why do you hate apples? You know what I mean? Like you say anything, and because you are putting yourself out there, because of the nature of it, like people automatically jumping on you and be like, you know, because you didn't mention these exercises, why do you hate them? Like people kept saying to me in that fucking...
God, it's like that. I mean, I don't want to get to... It's not a topic at all that we talk about on the podcast, but I mean...
We're in this deep.
No, but I mean, you know, it was like the whole, you know, with like Black Lives Matter and then people saying, well, we're not saying white lives don't matter. Like, I mean, it's like you said.
All lives matter, bro. All lives matter. It's like, come on, man. It's not
like,
the point.
Yeah, it's totally. Like you said, you know, just because you say you like oranges doesn't mean you hate all other fruits.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And yeah, people kept mentioning like, oh, well, I really like pull-ups. Why don't you like pull-ups a bit?
It's like well, I can't fit them. Yeah, I can't fit them all in.
Literally, they're in my top 2 even. Yeah. Like if I was to list the top 5 again, rank the top 5, that would be probably 1 or 2.
My top 5 favorite foods. Bro, you didn't put cake in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, fuck yeah.
Yeah. The fuck's wrong with cake, man? Yeah. So that was my rant, and this leads us into, you know, the top 5. So as a summary and a refresher, I'm going to go through my top 5 from episode 117. Again, best strength exercises for BJJ. This is in no particular order, but we can order them. Fuck it. Number 1 is kettlebell bottoms up press as my push exercise. My pull exercise was overhand pull-ups, weighted preferably. Number 3 for glutes and a bridge movement is barbell back squats. The hinge movement, number 4, is single leg deadlifts. And finally, number 5 for core and grip, hanging leg raises.
Yeah. And mine were very similar. So I had, kettlebell bottoms up shoulder press, or just like shoulder press, if you will. I had renegade rows in there for a pull. I can't remember if I had pull-ups in there or not. They were great exercise, but I fucking hate them and suck at them. I had deadlifts in there. My squat variation was pistol squats instead of back squats. And I don't think I put a core exercise. No, I didn't put a core exercise in it. But anyway, they're very similar lifts, just, you know, slight variations. You know?
100%.
6 in one, half dozen in the other, more or less.
Totally. Right? And you probably, have you seen...
in terms of what we're going to talk about today, my 5 lifts and your 5 lifts essentially require the same equipment.
Exactly.
Which is, I guess, my point of saying 6 in one, half dozen of the other.
That's why we're bringing it up.
Yeah, they're very similar in terms of you didn't have an exercise and I didn't have an exercise where you're like, well, you need to buy 2 completely different bits of kit for those exercises. Yeah, you know, you could do either one of our lifts with the home gym setup we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, 100%. Have you seen like the new? Well, it's not new; it's old, but it's making the rounds again. You probably haven't because you might not be in like the strength and conditioning bubble that I'm in. But lots of people are promoting Zercher lifts at the moment, where you hold the bar.
Never even heard of it.
You've seen them before, 100%. Joey's probably taken you through them, but you basically hold the barbell in your elbows.
Okay, yeah. I've seen those.
You can do a whole bunch of different variations of lifts.
What are they called?
Zercher.
Is that named after a person?
I believe so. Actually, I don't know. That's a good one. I'll write that down. I'll find out and get back to you. But
yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, people could do squats with it.
Yeah, deadlifts, and you can even do like.
They look horrible. They look very uncomfortable.
They are a little bit uncomfortable, but I mean, the whole point is for it to take the benefits of these conventional lifts, like. Take the deadlift, for example, and by having it in your elbows, the deadlift's actually a poor example. Let's take the squat. But by having the barbell, imagine it like resting in the crux of your elbows. By repositioning the bar, you're getting a more of a, dare I say, functional twist to the lift.
Right.
Because think about Jiu Jitsu, it's a lot of like, what would you say, isometric holding strength, and I suppose that is a good way to simulate it. And it also shifts where the weight is, because if you have the weight in the same position on your body every time you go through the range of motion of the lift, you're going to get the same stimulus. That's why front squats are different from barbell back squats, because the bar path and the weight distribution
in a slightly different spot.
Exactly. So it engages different muscles.
It's funny, all the like niggles from jiu-jitsu and I guess this is important as well, because there's some exercises that, whether it's, one variant is better for you than the other, some you may not be able to do. So going back to my elbow surgery that I had happen, it wasn't that pull-ups were what caused the elbow injury. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back, bone spurs in my elbow, bone fragments. Long story short, I can't really operate my elbow at max extension and max compression anymore, right? It's just pretty gunky in my elbow. And so, for example, like a passive hang, I can't even really do a passive hang. If you ask me to do it, like I have to keep my elbows bent a little bit, because I can't fully lock out my elbow and hang my 100 kilos. Like, that's too much load, right? So, if I were doing pull-ups now, they would look like little bitch pull-ups or chin-ups, because, I can't do it from a full hang. And similar to that, I can't do a front squat, because that amount of like weight, with the way that my elbow would be compressed, like I couldn't hold that, like my elbow would give out. So you might have exercises that you've got niggles, or you had a surgery on this or that, and look, we got Mikey at the gym. The dude's got 2 titanium hips. There's a bunch of stuff that he can't do because physically it's not a lack of mobility or well, it is a lack of mobility, but not on his part. It's like physically, like there's a certain amount of fusion in his hip that you can't do it. You physically can't do it.
Well, not only can you not do it, you probably shouldn't. In certain cases,
you don't want to hear the sound of metal snapping like in your hip. Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
But, also, speaking of functional, those Zerfa lifts, Zercher, yeah. It came up on, you're right, I'm not in the same bubble as you, but I did have this. No, it didn't. But this other reel came up maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, and it was interesting. It was just kind of the different cultural ways, I guess is the correct word, of lifting. So it was a Chinese, I think, like bodybuilder or power lifter or whatever it was, doing a workout. And from our understanding of lifting, it looked like it was all the worst technique. Like everything was with kipping and all this sort of stuff.
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
But
he's an Olympian.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he's a Chinese medalist.
Right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the video that I watched talked about that, well, for them and the way that they train, they're not necessarily interested in like these closed chain movements of isolating one group of muscles and doing your lift or whatever. They value more like the ability to,
recruit force.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, okay, well, if you're doing a shoulder press, whatever, if I can recruit help from my quads and lower back and hips and everything to facilitate that lift, why wouldn't I? And so it looks like, which kind of had me thinking like, okay, like I assume there's value in that, because if you look at throwing a punch, right, you don't have to have much striking knowledge to know that they talk about like, the power of the punch comes from all the way from your foot from the floor, right? And through your hips and everything. It's not just this isolated, shoulder extension, right? It's this whole chain of muscles working together. And it did have me, I just kind of sat there thinking about it for a while of like, there definitely must be value in isolating movements, but also in having this connecting chain and
100%. Well, you inadvertently gave it the perfect example. Look at shoulder press. You use that as an example. If you're doing strict shoulder press, it's going to benefit you in a bunch of ways, but say one way, right? If you take the same element of the exercise and change it slightly and make it a push press, that is its own exercise. Is a push press a cheat rep of a strict shoulder press? No, it's not. It's a different exercise. And for those that don't know, a push press, like let me just take the barbell variation. It's where you imagine a strict shoulder press. You have a barbell. It goes from your chest or thereabouts in line with your chin, directly above your head and back down for reps. no like real bend in your knees. Like you're not squatting it down. A push press, on the other hand, incorporates a small squat and an explosion from all the way from your feet up into your shoulders to get the bar above your head, to lock it out and then control it down. And then with momentum, squat and to press the barbell. It's not like a squat press, but it's giving you're enabling yourself momentum to get the bar up. The advantages of that is, yes, you are recruiting all your muscle groups to generate as much force into that bar as possible to get it above your head. The benefits are that you can lift heavier, obviously, and also you're getting a better isometric, because if you think about it, the negative rather, I should say, when you're lowering the bar, there's a lot more weight than you're used to lifting.
That's right. Yeah.
So you're getting that benefit, and you would have seen like people do that.
It's a different exercise, right?
Exactly, it's a different exercise.
You know, the amount of people that I think maybe the days have passed a little bit of completely shitting on CrossFit, but you know, like the classic one is people shitting on
kipping pull-ups.
Pull-ups, right? I mean, it's a different exercise. Like if you're telling me that Matt Fraser or Rich Froning or what's her name, Tia can't do strict form pull-ups, you're fucking crazy. Of course they can, right? And I've seen videos of like CrossFit athletes, you know, kind of debunking the whole thing, being like, I can do them if you want, and they'll like smash out like 20 strict form pull-ups or, you know, strict form muscle ups. Like,
it's a different exercise.
The kipping one, like it's a different exercise.
Have you tried kipping pull-ups?
No.
They're fucking hard. It's a skill.
It would require, just by looking at it, I assume a good amount of coordination.
It's 100%. It's a skill, man. Like they are not easy. Like that like circular momentum that they get going. Like I can't do it fluidly.
And in a WOD, they'll do like 20 and then they'll go do 100 burpees or whatever it is, come back, do another 20 and
anyway. I mean, I still would prefer strict overhand pull-ups for the purposes of building strength and what we're talking about. But if you're doing CrossFit, it's a skill.
It's a different exercise.
It's a different exercise, exactly. It's a different skill set.
You know, imagine it would be like a gymnast looking at the CrossFit people when they do the, you know, some of the WODs where they have to walk on their hands in a handstand. And a gymnast would be looking at that being like, whoa, they don't have their legs straight, their toes pointed. What the fuck? It doesn't matter, bro. It's a different exercise. They just need to get from A to B on their hands, you know? Like.
And if you don't think that Matt Fraser is one of the fittest men on earth, like you're insane. He is fucking fit.
Does he still compete, do you know, or is he retired?
Man, I'm so like not.
I don't follow this.
No, I did not follow CrossFit, but I do have a lot of respect for, you know, the elite CrossFitters. Do I think CrossFit, because I have to say, do I think CrossFit is a good workout for BJJ? I think there's better ones. And I think it's because CrossFit's too similar to BJJ in a way that you'll be burning the candle at both ends, as we say, and the risk of injury is pretty high. But I was on the Elbows Tight podcast recently. I don't think the episode's aired yet. I think it's coming out in a couple of weeks. And the guys from Elbows Tight were mentioning that their gym is connected to a CrossFit gym, and one of their training partners is like a 50-year-old guy. He does a CrossFit workout and then backs it up with like an hour-and-a-half Jiu Jitsu workout and does that like every day.
Jesus.
Insane. Crazy. Is that guy like one of the fittest 50-year-old around? Fuck yeah, he is. But does that necessarily mean that I recommend CrossFit? No, I don't actually. I think that for Jiu-Jitsu, it's one or the other, in my opinion. It's either you do CrossFit or you do Jiu-Jitsu, because it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't have analogy Adam's brain here, so I'm finding it hard to give a concrete analogy. But yeah, burning the candle at both ends is probably the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, very cool. Anyway, let's build a home gym, Kieren.
Yeah, holy shit, 23 minutes.
yeah. I had another segue that I was going to talk about something else, but no, I'll rein myself in.
Save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now I did mention at the outset of the episode that I looked into some equipment, what I'd recommend, prices, and then compared it to a gym membership, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to get into some numbers and some equipment. First thing I recommend for your home gym workout or home gym, if you will, would be a set of kettlebells.
100%.
That is the best place to start. You can get a fucking sick workout, just body weight. Like you can get an amazing workout, like one that would smash you just using body weight, things that are lying around the house. There's like whole channels on YouTube dedicated to it. Calisthenics workouts don't really need anything but a bar. So don't get me wrong, you can do that. But I personally prefer to use exercise equipment as well.
But yeah, and kettlebells are just, I feel like a no-brainer. They're, you know, I know you've got some specific numbers written down,
I do.
which I don't think matters too much. Like, I mean, it depends. It's going to depend where you are in the world.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, 30 seconds before we started this podcast, I just quickly typed into in Sydney anyway, where people kind of use stuff online is Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace is where a lot of like people.
It's like your Craigslist.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like Craigslist. And I just quickly went on Facebook Marketplace and I saw like, you know, for like $50-$60, you could get like 1 or 2 kettlebells, depending on the weight, you know, that people have just trying to get rid of. So essentially you could
post-COVID fucking, I don't need this anymore.
So you could say anywhere from $50 to $100.
Yep.
Obviously you could go even more expensive, but for the average person, I don't know if you would agree with this, but if you could, let's say if you were only getting 2 kettlebells, right? My advice would be either depending on how much you can already lift, but somewhere like a 10 and 12 kilo and like a 16 kilo or a 20 if you're someone, you know.
Totally.
But it depends what you're lifting. So a 20 is a good weight, but I mean, if you're not experienced with kettlebells or you're not, even if you've never lifted before, but you're like, if you're not a big person, a 20 kilo, like it can be heavy, man. Like for example, if you're not an experienced lifter, you're not shoulder pressing a 20 kilo kettlebell.
No,
there's no way. Like,
I don't bottoms up at 20 kilo.
So yeah, to give you a point of reference, I mean, you lift way more than me, but me as a 100 kilo guy who has lifted on and off, like I lifted yesterday and I was doing bottoms up with a 12 kilo kettlebell.
I have to save the North American audience here. So 100 kilos is 225 pounds and 12 kilos is 26 and a half pounds.
Wait, you said 100 kilos is what?
225 pounds.
Why did you go to 100 kilos?
No, your body weight, mate.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. I was like, who's lifting a 100 kilo kettlebell?
Yeah. So 225 pounds for Adam's body weight and 12 kilo is 26 and a half pounds. And a 20 kilo is, we'll call it, it's 44 pounds.
Yeah. Okay. Pounds. Useless.
Yes. It is a pretty backward, useless system. So yeah, I think your advice is great. I have here what I'd recommend for intermediate to advanced lifters, not necessarily advanced with kettlebells or intermediate with kettlebells, but just stronger people, like people that lift, people that exercise. And you're like, okay, well, I've never done kettlebells, so I'm mostly barbells and dumbbells. It doesn't translate exactly. My 3 recommendations are 8, 12, and 20, or that's kilos, or 17 and a half, 26 and a half, and 44 pounds, respectively. Now, if you're someone that hasn't really done too much lifting, I would start with, maybe for men, start with an 8. For women, maybe you can go starting with a 6 kilo or 17 and a half, and we'll say like, I don't know, like 12 pounds or something.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the exercise, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, for me, like if I've got an 8 kilo, a 17 pound kettlebell, I'm going to be doing stuff like, well, I mean, these aren't exercises I really do, but I don't know, for argument's sake, like shoulder raises, or which I wouldn't be doing, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a lighter weight, or I'm going to be doing a more difficult exercise like windmills, which are quite a deceptively difficult weight. I'm not going to be kettlebell swinging an 8 kilo kettlebell.
You could do it one-handed.
You could do it one-handed. Yeah, you're right.
And then if you pair with a set of bands, which is my next recommending kit, resistance bands or elastic bands, or I think they're called jump stretch bands as well. You can get them on Amazon. You can get a full pack for like $50 Australian, or I think that is $30 US.
Yeah.
And you couple those with your kettlebells, and all of a sudden you can catapult the amount of weight in inverted commas that you are lifting. For example, there's this sick little slingshot you can set up with a resistance band with your kettlebell. So you attach the resistance band, you stand on it, slingshot it through the kettlebell, and then when you swing it, it swings back. Yeah. So you're fighting against resistance.
My advice though, if you're going to get resistance bands, so something like kettlebells, yeah, you're going to have good ones and bad ones in terms of the shape of them, and like if they're really cheap, like from a dollar store,
sand or whatever,
yeah,
or like water,
yeah,
shit.
Exactly. So you can get really shit ones, but generally speaking, it's a lump of weight with a handle. Yeah. There's not much to it. However, I will say, if there's anywhere you can maybe afford to spend a little bit more money, my advice is to do it on the resistance bands.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
they snap.
Good chance of you being one of those people having it snap in your gooch, and you know.
I've had a full band snap on me during COVID. We were doing a park workout, and it snapped on my hand. They
were some shitty Amazon ones though, weren't they?
Yeah, some shitty Amazon
So I mean,
ones.
look, you can get them and they're fine, but I guess it depends what you're doing. Like the classic video you see on YouTube is someone doing like assisted pull-ups with a band. So you've tied the band to the bar and you put your foot in it so it helps pull you up, and it snaps and just goes, or snaps or slips off their foot and just goes straight
just
in between.
To slip and go up their junk. But there's a way to avoid that. Don't put it on your foot. Bend your knee and put it around your knee. So if you bend your knee at a 90-degree angle and then strap it onto like your shin/knee, it is way less likely to slip off and slingshot up into your groin. And that's how you do assisted.
But then we don't get the lols. So I mean, so far we're looking at, you know, depending on the weight and how many kettlebells you want to buy.
Yeah,
and
I have some prices here.
Man, we're looking at $100-$150 and you've already got kettlebells and bands.
Yeah. Like you said, you can go on Craigslist, Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, and you can pick up some pre-loved kettlebells on the cheap. Because most people, like, you know, everyone at some point buys some home workout equipment, and 90% of those people get sick of it or end up just going to a regular gym or don't work out, and like it collects dust and the missus is yelling at them, what are you going to do with the kettlebells? Then you fucking put them on Marketplace, you just get rid of them for $100 or whatever. You paid $400, you know. But anyway, I got some prices for brand newies. If you know, you don't have that as a last resort, you can get a 8 kilo or 17.5 pound for $49 Australian, 32 US. And these are like cream of the crop competition kettlebells. So, you know, this is probably as expensive as it's going to get. 12 kilograms will cost you around $70 Australian or 45 US, and that's 26.5 pounds. And a 20 kilo or 44 pound is $105 or $70 USD. So yeah.
Yeah. So $50 to $100.
Exactly.
Kettlebells. Right?
Thereabouts. Yeah. A little bit more. About 200.
Well, yeah, if you're getting,
You're getting brand new ones.
I mean, if you want to go brand new, like I said, honestly, I spent 30 seconds before this episode, and I found something.
We live in CBD of Sydney.
Yeah, we do, right? But they also have Craigslist, and it's just so much. I don't know if you've ever used Craigslist.
What if they live in Alaska, Adam? What about for our Alaska listeners? Why are you alienating people?
Then fucking kettlebell swing a polar bear. I don't care, man.
You know nothing about Alaska. Okay. All right. So the next bit of equipment that I would recommend is a pull-up bar / dip bar rack.
Yeah. So this is obviously now getting into potentially more expensive kit. Depends. You can get, for example, I've got one of these at the gym, and it's like
how much was it?
I stole it. No, it was like
was it a gift?
Yeah, someone just gave it to me. But it's like a wobble rack, right? Like you know, you do your dips and it's like it's wobbling side to side, and like you more or less need someone standing there to hold it sturdy. You
can get some like big sandbags on the
it's not about that. Like it's weighted down with bricks, but like the still like it wobbles.
Oh, the actual frame.
The actual frame wobbles. You know, like so.
I did think of that, and what I looked at is actually wall-mounted versions. So you can get like brick-mounted, you know, they're a little bit more expensive.
That's right, but I mean, then you have to, you know, masonry bit, and you got to put it into the brick and
Depends
whatever.
What you have.
People have asked at the gym, like, oh, you know, why don't we get a pull-up bar in the gym, like one of those wall-mounted ones? And I'm like, the walls are gyprock.
Yeah, what the fuck are you mounting it to?
I think in America they call it drywall.
Yeah,
it's like. It's like you can't put anything in that.
Yeah, man.
Why the walls are gyprock? I don't know, man. It's not my space. Like it's a commercial space that I rent. It's I would have loved to have solid concrete walls, but it's not what I have.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But you can pick up like the rickety set, if you will, for about $100 Australian or 65 US, and I think you can get the wall mounted on the cheap for about the same price. But then if you want quality stuff, you need to be looking at like a equipment brand like Rogue. For the best home gym setups, go to Rogue. Like they're the CrossFit brand, but still they're the best for a reason. They're really
good. I've never used one of these bits of kit, but
you're gonna recommend it anyway.
No, I'm not gonna recommend it. I've only ever seen it fail. is those pull-up bars that mount in a door frame.
Ah,
they look useless. Like I look at that and I go, I wouldn't even try to hang from that. I mean, I know I'm 100 kilos or what'd you say, however many pounds? 225 pounds. So I know I'm, quite big and heavy, but I still look at that and go, well, even if I were half the weight, even if I was 50, 60 kilos, 150 pounds or something, I go, like, it's not bolted in or anything.
I've never owned one, but do you remember those commercials where it's like, you got a door, you got a gym?
yeah.
Remember that shit?
Well, I mean, there's, what are they called? It's not called a TRX,
TRX,
right?
Yeah, I got TRX.
I mean, they work on a door kind of thing, right?
Yes, so, they do.
And you can do a lot with those, with a TRX.
You can. That's actually not in my recommended equipment. I have them, and I bought them to take to sea with me. So when I was on a patrol boat in the Navy, we had some gym equipment, but it was very limited, and I didn't ever want to be in a situation where I couldn't, get a workout in. So I brought a knockoff brand. It's not knockoff. It's high quality. But it's not TRX brand, but it's the same sort of thing, right? And I can count on fucking one hand the amount of times I used them. To be honest, I did use them a lot during COVID, so that was a saving grace when all the shit was locked down. So I mean, they're okay, but they're really good for doing any sort of pulling movement, because if you've tried to do a home workout and you're trying to get your pull sets in, it's fucking hard. Yeah. Without any weight assistance at all, with just body weight, to do any pulling. Without a bar. Yeah. That's the key. Without a bar. Like you can do pulling exercises off like a coffee table and like hang on the bottom side of your table and pull like that. But it's hard. And
fuck that shit.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
You can do it on chairs and stuff, like if you're dedicated, but it's really, it's way easier to have something like a resistance band kit and or a TRX setup to get your pull exercises in. Push is like fucking easy. You do that all day, but pull is a little bit more challenging.
Yep. So you can get a rickety pull-up bar thing, whether it's a wall-mounted one. Some people are maybe, let's take the home gym maybe not a step further, but let's just take it to a lateral step. Maybe maybe you don't need to, a strafe, Maybe you don't need a pull-up bar, but like you've got a couple of kettlebells and a resistance band, and maybe the park across from your street has whether it's kids' playground equipment that often has a bar that can serve as a pull-up bar, or
or a tree.
Some trees have got a pretty good branch that can work as a pull-up bar, or some places, particularly here in Australia and Sydney, there's these fire exits. There's these little like outdoor gym things that are pretty crap, but they have pull-up
they're
bars.
Everywhere in the eastern suburbs.
Yeah,
so like little gym like fucking park gyms.
Yeah, so like, you might just be like, okay, cool, I'm taking my 12 kilo kettlebell and a couple of bands across to the park. There's your pull-up bar.
That's literally what I did during COVID. Like every other day I went out. It was all right. You could get a decent workout.
Yeah, so you might find yourself not needing, okay, well, 100%. I don't need to buy a pull-up bar because there's one across the road, or, you might have, maybe in your building or in your apartment or house, you might have a particular frame or bar that is
literally in your fire exit.
Yeah, that is whatever it is that you can use as a pull-up bar.
So 100%.
Don't think you have to go buy some frame thing.
Yeah. It can be easier, but I'm not sure about the doorway ones. Like they work, but do that at your own risk. So that bit of equipment was recommended if you didn't connect the dots, was to tick off the overhand pull-ups exercise in the top 5 that I had. So that's why we recommended those. And it doubles up as a dips bar as well. Dips are excellent for triceps and chest. We're talking pushing. Yeah. So definitely recommended. And the next bit of equipment, now this one's more optional, and I've put optional here. You can get, if you just take the recommendation of picking up some kettlebells, getting yourself the pull-ups bar and the dip bar rack, and maybe a resistance band set, you're made. Like, you can get pretty, I'm not going to say you can get jacked, but you can.
But you can get
strong with that kit.
And you get a few kettlebells, even just the kettlebells, type into Google or YouTube, kettlebell exercises.
Yeah,
or better yet, hundreds of them, man.
Or better yet, type in Kieren Lefebvre Jiu Jitsu and download the Strong for BJJ 12-week program. And there's so much you can do there.
There you go.
Free program.
Free resource as well.
I'll talk more about it at the end. But the next, I said that because the next thing is optional. You can go with a barbell set that you can pick up from Gumtree. Now, I don't recommend getting dumbbells because we have the kettlebells that have ticked that box. Anything more or less that a dumbbell can do, a kettlebell can do, sometimes better. But so the barbell kit, to give you some numbers here, I had a look this morning as well. And on Gumtree, I found that you can get a kit of approximately 70 to 100 kilo of just the plates, secondhand, a little bit rusty, doesn't matter, $100. And you can pick up a Olympic weightlifting bar, or what you would know is just a barbell. They're referred to as Olympic when they're 22.5 kilos. They need to be very specific weight, or about 20 kilos of weight. You can pick up one of those, a good one, for about $200 secondhand.
Yeah, I found one for $100.
There you go.
So half the price. But
there you go. So $200, we can get a barbell, a good barbell, and some weights.
Yeah. So obviously that's going to tick off your deadlifts, your squats. I'll put a little asterisk and say yes and no. No, but I mean, yes and no, they're going to tick it off. And the reason I say yes is because yes, it's going to tick it off.
Yeah.
But without a squat rack, it's going to
use bins,
like wheelie bins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. 100%. Get yourself some wheelie bins, chuck over like a towel or something so the plates don't crack the bin lid. There you go. Or you can get yourself some bin lids and put a plank of wood, just like plywood, on top, and that enables you to rack your weights.
You could do that, yeah. I'm looking at my little sketchy weight setup I've got in the garage, and
just go light.
That wouldn't be an option. Like, I'm looking at what I'm squatting is whatever I can clean, because
about 60 kilos.
Yeah, usually, but actually, I'm quite bad at squats. I'm really bad at squats, and last time, and we're going pre-COVID, that I was going to just, your whatever, Anytime Fitness gym thing around here, and I was squatting. It got to a point where it wasn't the weight that was limiting me. It was whatever, like, not a huge amount of weight. I think it was like 70 kilos, 60, 70 kilos, something like that. And it got to a point where my legs were strong enough, the mobility in my ankles, knees, and hips were good enough, but my form of squatting it started to hurt my back, my lower back, which I knew wasn't because it was too heavy. Like, I knew it was like my technique was not good, and
maybe you're collapsing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. And was it fixable? Yeah, if I had someone come and train me properly, but I was, I really hate squats anyway. So
you just have to
I carried on, and and I quickly moved on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in my head, someone who doesn't really like to lift, it seems like a bit of a pain in the ass to get bins and set up some shitty rack. I'm probably only going to squat what I can clean.
We have that kettlebell. We have a 20 kilo kettlebell, so you can do goblet squats with the kettlebell.
You can do goblet squats, or if you're. I think the majority of people are going to be able to clean and shoulder press just the barbell onto their back, right? And then if you're like, okay, well, 20 kilo back squats, I can do them all day. Okay, we'll do fucking split squats, do Cossack squats, do what are those ones called?
Bulgarian
split squats. Like, essentially these are all single 100%. Leg squat variations.
And I mentioned
you've more or less, in little air quotes, doubled the weight.
Yeah, 100%. And they're actually better for BJJ anyway. Well, they can be.
Yeah, well, you get the added mobility and everything from it, right?
100%. And not only is it added mobility, we're talking about stability of unilateral exercises. So whenever you're thinking about what exercises are good for jiu-jitsu, apart from the ones that I've mentioned, particularly for legs, think about things that you can do one leg at a time, right? So anything that is unilateral or one at a time is going to be excellent for jiu-jitsu, because so many people, just people in general, have differences, muscular imbalances from side to side. And those can be masked when you do something like back squats, barbell back squats. Say your right leg is like 25% stronger than your left leg. You probably wouldn't notice in a regular squat.
That's right.
Because your right leg is compensating and driving up your left. But if you take your right leg away from your left, then all of a sudden the muscular imbalances become very stark.
Yeah, indeed.
Indubitably.
So comparatively to last episode, the 120 Ask a Black Belt that was 2 hours long, this will be more in our time frame of our regular episode length.
Back to our regular scheduling, our regular programming. All right.
So to summarize, right, we're looking at some kettlebells, some resistance bands.
Yep.
Essentially 4 main bits of kits.
Yep.
Kettlebells, resistance bands, some type of bar that you may not even need to purchase because you might have something hanging around, a tree,
rack,
whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups, essentially. We're looking at a bar to do pull-ups.
Yep.
And then we're looking at, for your deadlifts and those sort of things.
So many things you do a barbell. Fuck
yeah. And, then we're looking at a barbell with some plates because even someone who's not very strong, a 20 kilo kettlebell is for deadlifts. Yeah, you can supplement kettlebell swings are a variant of deadlifts, right?
Yeah, well, it is a hinge. Yeah, you're right. It is a hinge.
Yeah, you're going to struggle to do deadlifts. I'm even
power generation. We're talking like raw power.
Without 60, 80, 100, 150, 200 kilos, depending on how strong you are.
Jacked you want to get. Yeah. But the barbell opens up your world, right? You can do pulling exercises. You got rowing exercises.
Yeah, you can do bent over rows.
You have landmine because and then you have all the plates. So you can do isolated plate workouts as well.
Yeah, you can do like round the world with the plates.
Or like Halo, like the
yeah,
kettlebell.
Sorry, that's what I was calling.
Yeah. You can do fucking all sorts of shoulder exercises, isometric work. You can, the world is your oyster. So I think by getting a barbell and some plates will really open up your possibility for your home gym. But it's optional because you can supplement all those.
That's it. And look, you might not have the space. Your home gym might be like, look, man, I'm going to have to, I'm going to be moving my coffee table out of the way and putting down a yoga mat.
That's what my fiance does.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you may be just looking at some bands and a kettlebell. You're like, man, I don't want to have an Olympic barbell and plates sitting in my fucking lounge
Stop
room.
being a pussy.
So what are we looking at, Kieren? How much are we going to spend?
So we're going to spend $620 if you got everything that we recommended, but that was based on a couple things that I found that were a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, so remember, Kieren looked at kettlebells that were premium. So he had an 8 kilo, 12 kilo, 20 kilo kettlebell.
So you can cut that down to, we'll say you can get the kettlebells, get them for about $100, right? You can get a premium kit of resistance band for about $50.
Australian.
This is all Australian. You can get your pull-ups bar. Well, that can be free, but say you had to buy one, $100. So we're at $250, and then you can get your barbell for $100, so $350. Get $100 worth of plates, $450. So realistically,
let's call it $500.
$450, $500. We'll say $500 to anywhere from $500 to like $620, the absolute premium for everything that we recommended. That's what you're looking to pay Australian. So that would be around like $350 to $500 US.
Opposed to a gym membership.
Which is, I calculated that in the Sydney region, around $780 to $1,820 Australian per year of a gym membership. And the 780 is what I pay. It's $15. I didn't realize how much it was. I pay $15 a week, which I only go because it's so fucking cheap. And it's because everything's weekly in Australia, paid weekly. And it turns out to be $780.
Shit.
That's insane. Nah. It's breaking my fucking bank. But I
Don't say that. Now the people listening are going to calculate their Jiu Jitsu memberships that they pay.
Well, yeah. Anyway.
Good one, Kieren.
But if you're interested and you like what I was saying about different exercises, etc., and I was taking the piss halfway through the episode, but I did want to plug. I did recently make a free 12-week program for to get strong for BJJ. It's called Strong for BJJ, 12-week program, and I'll put a link to download that in the description of this. It's completely free. All you have to do is put in your email and I'll send you the PDF. Or if you want a bodyweight variation for the home workout, the home gym workout, then I have a bodyweight version as well. It's called BJJ Bodyweight Training, and I'll send that to you as well. So one link and you'll get both. And I do have a 30-day Jiu Jitsu mobility giveaway going on at the moment. Now this is turning into a fucking ad. This is the ad read. It's basically a 30-day Jiu Jitsu mobility challenge, and we're giving away a whole bunch of prizes, 3 prize packs. The total prize pool is like $1,200 US. So get amongst that, chance to win a gift card to X Marshall and a BJJ access to the BJJ Performance and Longevity course. So
nice, get amongst it, guys.
Link to all that shit in the description.
Yeah. So if anyone has any other bits of kit that they swear by, that they use in their home gym, let us know. Also, well, like someone might.
Sorry, my brain immediately went to like dumb shit, like dildo and like the shake weight. I don't know why. I can imagine someone like Dan messaging in.
Well, some people swear by funny little things. Like some people constantly have in their car those little grip strength.
Oh, Captains of Crush grip strengths. Yeah, I've got them.
Or those. Have you seen those things where I think you need a bit of string to get it going? It's like a gyro ball, and like you. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
I've never used one, but for those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's essentially a ball, and then inside it has another ball that can rotate, and you usually get a bit of string and pull it to get the ball on the inside going, and then you just keep moving your hand in this circular motion, and like the forces of the internal ball rotating is trying to rip the outer ball shell out of your hand. So it's like a grip training thing. Yeah. I've never used one, but weird. I've heard of people who swear by them. They're like, man, they're really good. So maybe you've got a like you said, maybe a shake weight, right? Maybe you got something that works for you.
Or the Ab Swing Pro. Do you remember that?
Yes.
My mum fucking bought one.
You know what I did yesterday though, for the first time in however long?
Ab rollouts.
Ab roll. Yeah.
I cheated. I saw the
You
Instagram.
saw the photo. Dude, but I did it yesterday, and as I was doing it, I was like, I'm going to be sore tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
And it's not like I can't do. Like we were starting the workout and the guy I was training with, Aaron, goes, we doing them on our knees or our toes? And I'm like, our fucking knees, bro. What's wrong with you?
I don't even do them on my toes,
like,
man.
I can't get flat like doing it on my knees. Yeah. Forget about it. And I'm sore from it. I haven't done them in so long. And,
they're tough.
But guys, and remember as well, if for anyone who, it's just better to, if you're listening to this on Spotify, this is probably irrelevant to you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably already know that the episodes are now on our own YouTube channel. They've moved from Kieren's YouTube. The podcast, the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast, has its own YouTube channel now. So,
and as an announcement, I'm going to make all of the episodes on my personal YouTube disappear very soon. So I'm letting people slowly figure it out, because I've got comments on the episodes. Link to this is our new YouTube, go subscribe. But they will be disappearing. So the only place you'll be able to find the video version on YouTube is Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast YouTube channel.
Cool. And if you want to help, feel free to subscribe to that. Would be cool. But I hate that whole click like, comment.
You got to say it, man. People forget. People love our content, but just didn't know that if you click follow on Spotify and leave us 5 stars on Spotify, it helps us out a lot. We get thousands of listeners.
It's a good thing you said so.
But we only have like a couple of follows. So follow us on Spotify. It really helps. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. That's our guide to setting up a little home gym, and let us know how you go. Get jacked, get strong, and then have people complain, bro, you're just so strong. The best compliment you can receive, isn't it, Kieren?
Just too strong, bro.
Just too strong, bro. All right, until next time.
Bye.